game-like curriculum and games that are played in the classroom. So I wanted to start out just by having you guys think back to your middle school years and try to remember the most memorable learning experience that you had when you were in middle school. So just take like 30 seconds. Think about one word that you would use to describe this experience that sort of explains why it was so memorable for you. So just take a few seconds to do that. I'm going to ask a few people to share out. Would anyone like to share their words? Yeah?
Fun.
Fun. Anyone else? Yeah?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. Any other words?
Active.
Active. Great, yeah. So one of my most meaningful learning experiences, I remember I was in 4th grade, we were learning about Native Americans, and I remember I was working in a group, we were in pairs, and we had to build a model that represented a certain tribe that we were assigned to study, and I was looking at the Hopi. And I think one reason this was so memorable is because I was working with a boy on whom I had a giant crush. But I think more likely, it was really memorable because this was fun, it was collaborative, it was creative, it was hands-on, all of the words that were mentioned here. And so everything that we do at Quest to Learn, we really try to infuse these characteristics into everything we design for the kids. So as I was thinking about what to talk to you guys about today, I was thinking about the work that I do at the Institute of Play and how it might overlap with some of the work that you all do. So we're all sort of social innovators, right? At the Institute of Play, we're innovating in the field of education. We're all trying to use design for good. So I thought I could talk about 3 sort of principles that are that we design by in hopes that it might relate to the work that you guys do. So the first thing I want to talk about was collaboration. We believe that collaboration is an absolutely necessary skill to possess in the 21st century. When collaboration works well, people with unique skills, expertise come together, they create and innovate in ways that they would not be able to on their own. So we collaborate constantly in our work, and we also design experiences in which students must collaborate and work together. So I wanted to first talk you through the collaboration that we go through as a curriculum team. We work in a really unique way at Quest to Learn. So we work in teams of 3 comprised of a game designer, a teacher, and a curriculum designer. And each member of the team contributes really unique and crucial skills to the efforts of the team. So the game designers bring the expertise and understanding around how to create immersive social environments for kids that are engaging. The teachers bring content knowledge and pedagogical skills. And the curriculum developer brings a strong background in teaching and learning, as well as a knowledge around the state and national standards. So we as a team, we create game-like curriculum and games that any of us would not have come up with individually. We really build off of each other. And then there's also student collaboration, which happens on many levels throughout the school. So students, they collaborate in classroom-wide games. They work together to create an array of projects such as a Rube Goldberg machine, as you'll see in the photo on the top right, or videos or presentations. They play collaborative games in our motion capture embodied learning lab called Small Lab. And they also work together in a sort of more hands-on game-like learning experiences. So I would argue that one reason that our collaborations at the school, both among the curriculum teams as well as among the students, work so well is because we reframe failure as iteration. Seeing failure as iteration encourages us as teachers, designers, educators to take risks, to go outside of what's normally thought of as a classroom, because we know that failure is an inevitable part of the design process. And so it makes it much less scary to try sort of crazy ideas, because if we fail, we know, well, we're going to learn from the experience and ultimately improve our design. And for students, thinking of failure as iteration in the same way makes learning much less scary. They're not scared to just sort of tinker and explore. So iteration happens in the school, as I've said, on a few different levels. I thought I could first talk you through the design process that we go through as a curriculum team at the school, which offers a great model for the students. So specifically, I wanted to talk you through the process that we go through when we're designing a game for use in the classroom. So we meet in teams of 3, as I said, teachers, curriculum designers, and game designers. And often in these meetings, a teacher will identify an area which kids tend to struggle with. whether it's a piece of content or a skill. And these are the areas that we try to design a game for. So in that initial meeting, when that area first comes up, we'll have a brainstorm among the curriculum team. Sort of what might a game look like that addresses this piece of content. And then the following meeting, the game designer will come with some more developed pitch based on that initial brainstorm. And sometimes, as in this case, sort of very, very rough but playable paper prototypes. So these are photographs of 2 very early paper prototypes that I made for a game called Shortcuts. So at this point, we will either talk about the pitch, or if there's a paper prototype, play the game together as a curriculum team, and take whatever feedback we have from that initial prototype. Either we scratch it and sort of move on based on what happened with that, or take any feedback if it is working and improve it. So the following meeting, the game designer will come with sort of a more developed, but still sort of rough paper prototype, and we'll play that as a curriculum team. And if all is going well at that point, then we'll have a student play test. So we'll have 4 students from the class that will be playing the game come into our design space, Mission Lab in the school, and they'll play the game. And they'll fill out this play test reflection form telling us, was the game fun? Were the rules clear? What do you think you and your classmates could learn from playing the game? Is there anything you would change about the game? And we have a short discussion about it, and we really take their feedback really seriously. And we apply that then to the final version of the game, which is not really the final version, but it's played in the classroom with the whole class. And we just think of this sort of as another giant play test, because as you're observing the whole classroom play, inevitably you'll notice sort of more things that you might want to tweak and apply to the next iteration. So it's sort of this ongoing process. So as I've said, we try to pass on this notion of failure as iteration onto our students as well. And playing games is one way that's really good for this notion to be modeled. So in a game, failure is seen as a necessary condition of eventual success. A game provides a perfect environment for students to keep trying and trying to solve complex problems as they learn, and there's really no penalty for testing out ideas. In most schools, failure is something to avoid at all costs. You do not want to get an F. You have one chance to show that you know what you know. We really try to give our students opportunities to see failure not as something to avoid, but actually as opportunities to learn, to improve, to practice. So this game that you see in the photograph is called Shortcuts, and it was about the Pythagorean theorem. So students, the goal of the game basically was to get from one corner to the corner diagonal from you. And in order to move diagonally, you need to estimate the diagonal length of a right triangle. And students played the game before they had learned the Pythagorean theorem. When they started playing the game, almost all of them were terrified to make this estimate. But they soon realized that in order to win the game, you need to make that estimate, otherwise you will not be the first one to reach the other corner. So they soon realized that, and they decided, you know what, I'm just going to try it. And in this game, it just encouraged them to take this risk. By the end, they were not at all scared about making this estimate. So the last thing I want to talk about was something that we call a need to know. So I think we can all agree that in order to encourage people to engage with our designs, in whatever the intended context, our designs must be relevant for people. They must have some sort of real-world connection, something that people can relate to. So this is the same in the realm of education. We believe that learning is more meaningful when it is driven by this need to know. In order to create a need to know condition in the classroom, the curriculum gives students purposeful and relevant opportunities to master a skill. So beyond individual games for use in the classroom, the curriculum itself at Quest to Learn is game-like in that it's immersive, participatory, it allows for social engagement, and provides a challenge-based context or narrative for students to work within. So every trimester, students work within a 12-week-long mission or unit in each of their 5 knowledge domains. And a mission provides students with some sort of complex problem that they must tackle. It places students in a real-world role, which relates to the discipline that they're learning. And then a mission is broken up into a series of smaller quests or goals. So they're sort of solving these small challenges in order to work up to the larger challenge of the mission. So let me give you a more concrete example. So last year for the 3rd trimester, I was working with the 7th grade The Way Things Work teacher, which is our science integrated math class. And the list of content on the left that you see, that's everything she needed to teach. So we came up with this idea that the students would be contacted by an investigative agency called SPIES. And SPIES would, this is a photograph of a letter that the students received from SPIES. We had this idea that each quest, SPIES would present the students with a new mystery. And in order to solve the mystery, they needed to learn the content that the teacher needed to teach. So I'll give you an example. The first quest was called The Case of the Closed Staff Bathroom. So in the beginning of the quest, the students received sort of an evidence packet, which had some photographs in it. The story behind this was that the staff bathroom had been overtaken by bacteria, and we didn't know why. We suspected that someone had trapped it in, but we didn't know where the bacteria came from or how it just took over the whole bathroom so quickly. So the students then collected bacteria samples from around the school and the staff bathroom. And so through this whole thing, they learned about cell division, they learned about mitosis, and they learned about asexual reproduction. At the end of each quest, the students would have to fill out a case report to send back to SPIES. So this sort of, they had to write what they knew, what they learned, what their proposed solution was. And this template that we gave them was a great way to differentiate in the classroom and to reach different learners at different levels. So now that I've talked you through a bit of what we do at the school, I wanted to show you a video that'll illustrate it a bit more for you. Mission Lab is a design studio within Quest to Learn. It's comprised of game designers and curriculum designers, and we work with teachers at Quest to Learn to help them develop the curriculum and to design games that are played in the classroom. Part of what we do is to identify pieces of content that students tend to have trouble learning or picking up. And when those areas come up, we work as a team to brainstorm ways that we can design a game that will help kids to better understand and really learn and remember these content areas.
Mission Lab is something as a structure within a school that does not exist in any other school that I know of. The support that it gives teachers, I think, especially at a public school, makes it extremely unique. It's just a place where teachers can really be creative and are really encouraged to be creative with their curriculum, and also a space of collaboration.
It is an amazing experience because you not only have three heads working together, but you have three heads that bring such wonderful different knowledge and skills to the table that you end up with products that wouldn't have ever appeared if it was just three teachers working together, three curriculum designers or three game designers.
The teacher obviously comes with the content expertise in terms of what is mandated to be taught, and then through group meetings and discussions with the curriculum developers and game designers, you start to flesh out possible ideas and directions to go to teach the content.
The space that we offer is just like physically a kind of a necessary place for teachers to go to. That's not like a faculty room. It's a place where they can go and think, not just go and chill. And we are there to help them think.
In terms of knowing what the teacher wants to teach, I have some ideas in my mind already. But then the teacher comes up with something else, which is very close to that. So I say, well, actually, I was thinking the same. So when I see that connection happening, like we are almost on the same wavelength, then I see, oh, we should at least try to prototype this idea and see what happens.
When the collaboration works, it's more successful in the classroom because the teacher feels ownership over it.
We see kids excited. They're jumping out of their seats, they're yelling, they're talking about triangles and Pythagorean theorem, and you can just see the energy in the classroom. I call it controlled chaos. It is a lot of noise, but very specific noise geared towards learning goals. So it's this amazing time in a classroom where learning's going on at the same time that the students are having fun.
We're not just playing the games for no reason. We have like a goal in mind. So our goal for the day may be to learn like certain Spanish words. So like we played Clue once, but it was a Spanish Clue. And the object was to learn how to say different Spanish foods. So by playing the game, we're able to pick up the language and speak it by the end of the class.
At first you're like, oh man, the second these kids hear game, their minds change and they start to get a little excited, they talk, they don't listen as much. And that's true. And from a kid's perspective, every time they've experienced games, it's been in a more lax environment where, you know, they're supposed to have fun, they're not worrying about rules or anything else. So as a teacher, it's your job to present the game in such a way that, yeah, we're having fun, we're learning, but at the same time, although you're enjoying this game, you're still in a classroom, and the ultimate goal is not only to have fun, but to learn what we're trying to teach you.
One of the things that gives games so much power in teaching kids is that games really encourage you to just keep trying. This seems like a perfect fit with when you're teaching kids, to teach them in a safe environment and encourage them to just try without fearing failure.
Oftentimes the teachers bring up ideas that we never thought of. And so it changes the direction of where we're going in a particular brainstorm, or with a play test of a game, the teacher's feedback may then shift the redesign of that game.
One block, you need to touch that with one of your units or variables. So if it's touching, then you can attack and you can use that.
Mission Lab is and our meeting times are prompts for teacher learning and teacher reflecting on their next steps and their long-term planning. It's very easy to get caught in the day-to-day as a teacher and planning for the next day or maybe the next week or maybe 2 weeks down the road, but we try to force the long-term vision. And while it can be a pain sometimes too, teachers do appreciate it in the long run.
There's sort of a trajectory to understanding the nature of the collaboration, and so teachers who have been here since the beginning are very protective of their relationship with the curriculum team. Curriculum meeting times are kind of like times that are never touched unless they really have to be, and teachers that protect that more than anybody else does.
Games can be considered almost like a second language, universal language of the world, because those are experiences that a lot of people go through and they connect to, maybe in similar ways. And so there is already some kind of connection there. So if something is working here, I don't see why something like this wouldn't work in other places.
So just a few more final takeaways. So collaboration, we believe, enhances the creative process as everyone in a team brings sort of unique skills and expertise. When we reframe failure as iteration, ultimately our design is strengthened because we're more willing to take risks, and designs are more effective if they're relevant to our audience. So I actually have an activity that I want to do, but before that I thought I could just maybe take like 5 minutes for questions, if anyone has any questions. Yep.
Do you let the kids at any point give ideas for games?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so one of our classes is called Sports for the Mind, and this is a game design and digital media arts class. So the kids throughout their curriculum are learning about games and game design, but we always encourage students to give us their ideas for games as well. So sometimes in a student play test, another idea will come up, or just in talking to students casually, and we like to use their ideas whenever we can. Yeah?
Where are these classes? In the Institute of Play or in the public school?
That's a good question. So the classes are at the public school Quest to Learn. The Institute of Play has an office in New York, but like I said, we co-founded this school, which is a New York City public school, and I just work full-time from the school. That's where the classes are. Yep.
So are games incorporated into every class, every subject?
Yep.
And
Yes. So there's
how are tests given?
at the school.
Yeah.
So we assess in a number of ways. I mean, sometimes there are sort of more traditional quizzes or tests, but we use a lot of other forms of assessment at the school. Sometimes a game is used for assessment. Sometimes just like the process of creating some sort of project or the ultimate project is an assessment. So we use a variety of different forms of assessment. But the kids do have to take the same standardized tests as all the other like New York City public school kids. Yeah.
Do you make these games available to other schools and teachers as well?
Yeah, we're hoping to. Right now, since we're very new, this is the 4th year of this school. But right now we're really working on creating ways of sharing our work with the outside world. And actually the video I just showed you is going to be, pretty soon it's going to be up on the Institute of Play website, and it's going to be with a series of materials, and I think a couple of our games will be included as well. It's not yet up, but it will be. Yeah?
So if you're 4 years old, I'm assuming one class has already moved on to high school at this point?
No, so eventually we will be 6 to 12. In New York City, when a new school opens, they start as 1 grade and then they add on a grade every year. So this year we are 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, you said on to high school, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying on to college. Yes, we did have, this is our first year at having a 9th grade. Half of our 8th graders left to go to other high schools, and half of our 8th graders stayed, and we got like a whole new, the other half of the grade are all new students. So it's been an interesting process. Yep.
Where does the funding for the mission lab come from?
So it mostly comes from the MacArthur Foundation and the Bill and the Gates Foundation. In the back?
Thanks. So this was awesome, and one thing that really jumped out at me was like how many Apple products there were. Of course, like very,
You're right.
Very like putting anything cool, but I'm wondering when you consider like how this could be like scaled down or how like readily it could be appropriated by people in other contexts. Like when you're designing the games, how do you consider sort of like the material and stuff that are?
Well, actually, the games themselves that we make, almost all of them are analog board games and card games. So you do not need the computer. We have a really quick turnaround time. Lots of times our games have to be produced in like 2, sometimes 3 weeks. So yes, you did see a lot of Apple products, but those are not necessary to play the games. Also, we're not sort of seeing Quest to Learn as like a model of schools that we want to like spread all over the world. That's not the idea. So we don't see Quest to Learn as like a scalable model for other schools to sort of adopt, but we think that other schools are able to adopt certain practices that we have. Yeah.
Do parents complain that their kids are having too much fun?
No. No. Yeah.
Do you give homework?
We do give homework. I think the homework that's given is purposeful. We don't just give homework for the sake of giving homework. So only if it really fits with what the teachers are doing. But we do, yeah. Yeah?
Have you ever experienced any areas where games don't work as well as traditional learning methods?
That's a good question. So I think that we have found in our work that it's much easier to apply games in the math and science domains. We do have ELA, social studies games, but we have fewer of them and we'd like to apply more. I don't think that's because it's harder to apply them, but I think math and science there's more of a sort of a natural fit. But I think games can be applied to most things, most areas. Yeah, why don't I take one more question and then we'll move on.
Okay, is there any statistics comparing students' performance in your school?
Yeah, so right now we are a new school. According to the state standards, our kids are performing at the same level as, our average is similar to other New York City public schools. We are less concerned about that data. Obviously we want to do well, but we're sort of more concerned with like the 21st century skills that we're trying to impart to our students, like collaboration, systems thinking, creativity. But we are performing at the same level as other New York City public schools. Okay, so I wanted to do a quick sort of down and dirty game design activity, but first, I feel like I've been talking a lot. So I want to get you guys up and moving around a bit. So, before I move on to the activity, I would like to do a rock, paper, scissors tournament. So what this entails is that everyone